Transformation Tuesday. All right, so welcome to Transformation Tuesday, and we are going to dive into spiritual bypassing, right? So, what is spiritual bypassing? Spiritual bypassing is when we use spirituality or spiritual practices as a way to avoid complex feelings, thoughts, and experiences in our lives, right? It's when we avoid facing challenging emotional and mental issues, wounds, and trauma. It's kind of what I like to call love and light away all of our problems, right? And that is called spiritual bypassing, right? Love and light does not solve all of your problems. And so, while it can help to protect us from harm and creates maybe some greater harmony with others, it's not actually solving any of the issues that you're having. It's kind of like sticking your head in the sand and hoping that everything goes away. And it's really a way of avoiding those big feelings and experiences that you just don't want to feel or handle at the moment. It's not really helping you to resolve any of these things, and it really does keep you from growing and expanding and healing. So, some signs that you may be spiritually bypassing are, again, avoiding what we feel are negative emotions, right? And I want to remind you that emotions are not good or bad. They're simply our body's way of telling us something about our current experience and our current state of mind. And when we can sit with these emotions and figure out what they're trying to tell us, that's where that growth and healing begins. And you may also feel that every experience, including traumatic events, are learning experiences, right? Or there's a blessing behind everything, or it was meant to be, or it's God's plan, or whatever, instead of actually processing the traumatic event or experience or emotion and really figuring out what it's trying to tell you so that you can grow and move forward. You may also kind of be feeling a little bit detached from your life. And because again, when we're not living in this present moment, when we're kind of like using some of our spiritual practices as a tool to avoid it, right? You're not living in the now. You're not living in the present, and that's that's all we have control over. You may also be so have this amazing idealism to the point that it's sort of unattainable, right? You may again hide behind your spiritual practices or spirituality to mask any insecurities that maybe you have. Or you're hyper focused on your spirituality to avoid living in the present, right? What I just said. Or you project negative emotions onto other people. Or you can focus only on the positive and are overly optimistic. And using denial or repression as a way of dealing with negative emotions. All right, there we go. So how does some of this show up in your life, right? So how does spiritual bypassing show up in your life? So feeling like the death of a loved one is a blessing, or that they're in a better place, or it's all part of God's plan. When you tell people this, like, you're not allowing them to experience grief in the way that they need to experience it. Or when someone tries telling you about their difficult emotions or experiences and you tell them to stop being so negative, to buck up, or see the positive in the situation, right? You're not really helping anything. And so it's really allowing to yourself to be compassionate, not only with yourself, but with others as well, because you need to process emotions. It's really important. A lot of common phrases that are used when it comes to spiritual bypassing is everything happens for a reason. It was for the best. Thoughts and prayers. Hashtag blessed. Right? All of these things are just sort of ways to get around some big emotions, and you're sort of focusing on being hyper optimistic about things, or again, you're not actually allowing yourself or others to feel those big emotions and to be able to process the experiences that they need to process for their own soul's growth. Spiritual bypassing is merely a defense mechanism, right? We often use it to protect ourselves when things seem really difficult and you're really don't want to deal with them at the time. It's avoiding the emotion or the issues, and it often results in more problems and emotional difficulties later on due to this avoidance behavior. These avoidance behaviors usually lead to anxiety, control issues, tolerance of bad behavior, spiritual narcissism, where you think that your spiritual practices make you sort of better than other people, or there's shame and codependency. Here's the thing, guys. I'll say it again. Feelings are meant to be felt. All the good, the bad, the ugly feelings, they're all there for a reason. They're your body's way of telling you information that you need to know. It allows you to avoid, when you spiritually bypass, it allows you to sort of avoid taking responsibility for hurtful words or behaviors that you maybe shared with someone else. And it allows you to feel like you shift the blame from yourself to others. It's a rationalization that you're an amazing, good person and you have no faults or responsibility for your own mistakes, right? When you feel like, oh, I'm such a better person now. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't apologize or take responsibility for some of the things that maybe you contributed to in your past. Sometimes it can give you a feeling of superiority, especially when others are feeling big emotions that you perceive as negative and you judge them for not getting over it or seeing it in a positive light, right? So allowing yourself to have compassion and give people grace to allow themselves to process their emotions in whatever way they need to process it. Again, you're meant to feel the emotions. It's okay to be angry and jealous, frustrated, or disappointed. The key is how to deal with them in healthy and productive ways. So how can we avoid spiritually bypassing? One, stop labeling your emotions as good or bad. They're feelings. They're meant to share information with you. Try viewing your emotions with more grace and acceptance, knowing that all emotions are temporary, right? Some days you have bad days, some days you have amazing days, right? And knowing that you kind of will swing between all of those emotions over the course of a week, a month, a day, right? When you're experiencing negative thoughts, right? What is it trying to tell you? What do you need to change or shift in your life that you actually have control over instead of ignoring the problems? When feeling an emotion, sit with it. Figure out the information that it's trying to tell you. Remember, you only have control over yourself, your actions, and your reactions. Everything else is outside of your control. When you can understand what that emotion is trying to tell you, you can do something about it. Ignoring it and never resolving the underlying issue of why you're feeling that way isn't going to solve anything. I really suggest journaling as a great way to uncover the root cause of why you're feeling this way. It often leads to a much deeper awareness of what's really going on, because it may just be this, you're seeing the surface. All right, I'm angry. Okay, well, why are you angry? And it may be rooted in something that you have no actual conscious awareness of until you actually start digging in. And I want to remember, I want you to remember that everyone has unique experiences, right, in this life. And they have different challenging aspects within their life, and they all process them differently. Give other people grace and offer a compassionate ear to listen and to be able to hear what's going through, what's going on with them, right? Without judging them, without telling them how they should be feeling, right? Or how they should deal with a certain situation. So how are you spiritually bypassing? I know that I have been guilty of this in the past, right? Absolutely. We're human, right? And we often don't want to deal with some of this stuff, right? But the more that you can actually get a handle on your emotions and understand what they're trying to tell you, the greater and the more joyful and loving kind of a life that you can start living. And you can start becoming more aware and conscious of the way that not only you're feeling, but how you're treating others. So remember, love and light doesn't solve everything. And I really hope that you enjoyed this Transformation Tuesday. I hope that you guys will join me next week as well. And like I said, I hope that I will see you in one of those events that I have going on. Again, I have a healing circle that's happening on Thursday evening. If you want to join, it's a virtual event. It's easy. It's a very affordable experience. If you want to receive some energy clearing, some healing, some messages from spirit, join me, right? And I will post all of these links at the end. And if you're in Denver, I highly recommend you come out to the Healer and Reader Fair that's happening on Saturday. It's in downtown Littleton. It's going to be an amazing experience. And even if you don't want a message or reading or healing from me, there's going to be plenty of other people who have amazing gifts and talents to share with you. And then again on Friday, Again, if you want to receive messages from Spirit, Violet Rain and myself, she's the owner of Discover Your Spiritual Gifts. We are going to be giving messages from Spirit. She tunes into not only your spirits and guides, but the Akashic records and all the things. And I usually tune into your energy field and tell you sort of what's going on in your body. So it's an amazing experience. I highly recommend, if you do live in Denver, please join one of these events on Friday or Saturday. And I hope to see you guys all there. So I hope you guys all have a fantastic rest of your week. Remember, Mercury is finally leaving retrograde at the end of the week. So I hope that you have taken time to really assess your life, figure out what you need to shift and change, because once October comes, everything's going to start speeding up, right? The last quarter of the year always goes so fast between Halloween, and then we have Thanksgiving, and then we have Christmas and New Year's, and suddenly like the new year is upon us. So I highly recommend you get your ducks in a row now so that you can start really taking charge of the energy that's going to start moving forward in October. So I hope you guys all have a fantastic rest of your week, and I will catch you guys all next time. Thanks.